everyone. I'm Sunny Gault with the Independent Podcast Network. Thanks for checking out today's video. Today, we're talking about SEO and podcasting. In fact, we just released an amazing blog post. If you guys want to check it out, it's called The 6 Best Practices for Incorporating SEO into Your Podcast. That's available on our website. The link will be in the video description. Today, what I want to talk about is break down some things that were not actually talked about in the blog post, things that are very, very specific to your podcast. Because when we are creating podcast episodes, putting them out there, we are always trying to grow our audience. Because most of us, especially if you're watching this video, you probably don't have a lot of money just to put into marketing to grow your podcast that way. So we have to rely on organic ways to grow our shows. And the best way to do that is to take advantage of keywords. But where do you put these keywords? Where do they go? That's what we're going to focus in on today. Now, this is not like rocket science. I'm actually surprised when people don't know where to put this. But if that's you, that's awesome. You are in the right place. I want you to take this information, and for every podcast you do moving forward, or for any podcast episodes you put out there, I want you to apply the information you're going to learn today. And it's not going to be a long video. It's pretty short. It's pretty simple. You ready? Okay, so there are 3 places where you need to think about keywords when either creating a new podcast or a new podcast episode. The first place is your podcast name, your podcast title. Think about keywords. This is not the place, guys, to get cutesy with your podcast name. Quick story. So one of the podcasts that I have is a podcast focused on pregnancy. And in the beginning, I'm thinking, I need a cutesy name for this show. I didn't want to just use the word pregnancy, which would have made a lot more sense because that's what people would be searching for. So I ended up calling it Preggie Pals. Okay, not the best choice. No one is searching for Preggie to find pregnancy. Okay, so take it from me. Don't try to be cute. I probably would have had a lot more subscribers for that show if I would have used pregnant or pregnancy. Okay, so think about those kind of keywords. Don't be cute. Not if you want people to find your show organically. Also, since we're talking about the title, I'll throw this in there too. Keep it short. I usually try to keep my podcast titles to 3 words or less. So my podcast that I just launched, which is all about helping you podcast for your business, when I was coming up with the title for it, I'm like, what am I going to call it? What am I going to call it? And I'm thinking keywords. I'm like, podcast your business. I get the word podcast in there. I get the word business. Your personalizes it, and it's 3 words. Okay. Is it the most original title? Maybe not. But more and more people are going to find that show because I'm using those keywords. All right, so that kind of wraps up the title. That is your podcast name or your podcast title. If you've already launched your show and you don't have that, consider renaming. We'll do a whole other video on that and that process, but it's that important, guys. Okay, so that's your podcast name. The second place where you need to be very mindful of your keywords is your author tag. Now, what in the world is an author tag? You will find this in your podcast host provider. It's under all the main information when you first enter the information for your podcast. And it essentially is just your name. For most people, it's just their name. If you are doing a podcast for your business, it's probably going to be the name of your business, or maybe it's both. Maybe it's your name and the name of your business. I do want to caution you, though, if you start to add other words besides your name, the name of your business, it's going to ding Apple and probably other podcast, providers out there, distributions like Apple, because they don't want you to muck it up. So don't muck it up. I have seen people be like, I'm Sunny Gault, podcast extraordinaire, coach, blah, 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 blah. And Apple doesn't like that. Okay. Keep it short and simple. But going back to the podcast title, a lot of times people want to put their names in the title of their podcast. There's no need. There's no need because it's already going to be in your author tag. So don't muck up your author tag. Keep it simple. Your name, the name of your business. That's it. And people will be able to find your podcast just by searching your name or the name of your business because it's in your author tag. Okay. So that's the second place. The third place, now this has to do with episodes. So the first two are really focused on starting your podcast or maybe making some changes in general to your main podcast information. The third one is about episodes. Okay, so your name for each of your podcast episodes is searchable. So we need to be looking for really good keywords to put into your name of each of your episodes. Again, I'm surprised at how many people muck up their titles with, well, personally, I'm not a big fan of putting your episode titles in your podcast titles, but I know a lot of people still like to do that. But they may just put a name of someone, or they try to be creative again. An interesting talk about life. What? What in the world? What is the heart and soul of your conversation? Like, what would people be searching for on a search engine to find the content that you're talking about? Don't try to be cute. If you're cute, no one's going to find your content unless you're a celebrity. Okay, that's just the way the industry is. Okay, when you're a celebrity, you can get away with all this kind of stuff because you're just going by your name. Okay, most of us don't have that. Most of us need to be able to be found based on the content that we're putting out. So be smart with your podcast episode titles. Put some good keywords in there. I also recommend that you keep the titles short. Doesn't have to be 3 words, but keep it short because keep in mind, I don't have my phone here. I was going to show you my phone. Found it. When you have, someone's listening to podcasts, they're scrolling through on your phone or some sort of mobile device. They don't have a lot of room to see what the podcast, the name of the episode is. So if it's really long, they may not even know exactly what you're talking about. So don't use any unnecessary words. Just keep it as simple as possible. What are people searching for? And that's it, guys. That's really what you have to keep in mind when it comes to SEO and putting out your podcast. So let's review really quickly. Your podcast name or title for your whole podcast, your author tag, and your episode titles. Those are the 3 things that you have to keep in mind when trying to get people to find your podcast through search engine optimization. So I hope that helped you guys today. I hope you learned a little bit. Take it and use it every time you release a new episode. Don't mess with trying to put keywords in all these other spots. I see people trying to, really load up keywords in their episode descriptions. Nobody's looking at that. Nobody cares. Make that short and sweet. No one's reading that kind of stuff anyways. So don't try to overdo it. Again, be sure to check out the new blog post that we just posted because that's going to give you some additional tips on how to find the right kind of content that people might be searching for online and some other cool tips like that. I am a podcast coach and mentor. So if you are just launching your podcast or perhaps you've been podcasting a while and you need a little pick-me-up, I am available for consultations. Be sure to visit our website, independentpodcast.network, and I'll see you in the next video.